Hey, what's the deal? Miss your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I'm saying? As of this recording right now, it is 8:15 p.m. You know what I mean? March 20th, 2035. You know what I mean? The upload time is 11:30. Of this video, and yeah, this is the last video of the day/night. And I love doing the, wrestlers who was ahead of their time series. Like this is fun for me because I get to relive, some of my favorite wrestlers I enjoyed growing up. And, wrestlers that I'm pretty sure that I know that a lot of wrestlers in today's day and age also, took inspiration from and look up to and all this other great stuff, right? So one of those wrestlers that I was a big fan of that was ahead of their time for sure, was none other than Mr. Sean Waltman, right? Sean Waltman, right? Sean Waltman, who we all know go by three names, right? A couple names actually. 1-2-3 Kid, Syxx, X-Pac, and of course the name that he decided to stay with, Syxx-Pac. It makes sense. It makes a lot of fucking sense, to call himself Syxx-Pac because, this was, see, when the NWO started, right, Sean Waltman basically, remember, he went to WCW from the WWF in '96 after his run in the WWF, right? Where he was a heel and such. And, he had shown character where he was a heel, of course, in the WWF. But there's a big but. But a big but like Buffy the Body. If you know, you know. But when he got to the NWO, that's when he really, really, really showed character and grit. And he was a great wrestler. Like, he let his martial arts speak for itself. And especially a guy for his size, he knew how to work. He knew how to fucking work. Like, he was perfect. He was perfect. Like, Sean Waltman was perfect. He was perfect for in every aspect. They were smart. I think Sean Waltman was smart for, definitely going to WC. I mean, he was going to go to WCW in '96. Like that was a given. I mean, that was a given. But like I said, for his size, like he was good. He was great. He's a great wrestler for his size. And again, he really, really, really showed charisma when he got to the NWO, right? When it was him, Hall and Nash and the Wolfpack and stuff. He had great matches with, Eddie Guerrero and, and Dean Malenko. He was a tall cruiserweight. If you think about it, he was basically a tall cruiserweight, but he still fit. He still fit for, he still fit for the division. I mean? Like I said, smaller guy, but he was fucking great. And then when he caught you with that chicken wing, he worked really, really well. Like I said, with the cruiserweights in WCW, really well. I mean, like, my favorite match from him was actually that match with him and Eddie Guerrero. I think at WCW Sold Out for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, right? And hold on real quick. Yeah, sorry about that. That was actually my favorite match of his. When he worked Eddie Guerrero in that show. That, again, was a great match. But he, like I said, he was perfect. He definitely was perfect. Like, he mixed a lot of his martial arts and such with, with his wrestling ability. And like I said, he could work with the best of them. He could work with the best of them. He could work with, he could work with the taller guys too. You know what I mean? Just because he was a cruiserweight, it doesn't mean that he couldn't work, he couldn't work guys larger than he was. You know what I mean? And he had the look. That's another thing about Sean Waltman too. Sean Waltman also had a perfect look. Sean Waltman to me, right, looked like, and again, I'm showing my age, but I don't give a fuck. I do not care. You know what I mean? He looked like, and for all my real rights know this, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like all my 90s heads know this. You know what I mean? He looked like the dude from Rage Against the Machine, the lead singer, Zach De La Rocha. You know what I'm saying? Like, look it up. He looked just like him. You know what I mean? But again, like, he was good. Like, he was fucking great. You know, but of course, with what happened with him in WCW, him and Eric Bischoff, you know, he wound up going back to the WWF. You know what I mean? And he wound up joining DX, which made sense. I mean, it made a lot of sense for him to do because of his relationship with Triple H and, you know what I'm saying, the clique and everything. You know what I mean? But and Shawn Michaels and such, right? I mean, Shawn Michaels wasn't there in you know, post 98, you know, DX, but you guys know what I mean. You know? But again, he could work. Like you can legit put, you know, Sean Waltman in any generation, and he'll still be in the same spot, but he will still give you a good match. He will give you a good match. No doubt about it. Like, he would definitely give you you could pull out a good match with Sean Waltman. You know what I mean? Like, because again, he's fucking great. You know what I mean? He knows how to work. You know what I mean? And that's what you need in wrestling. Like, you need people who know how to work. And he was a guy who definitely knew how to work. I mean, again, he was a cruiserweight. Like I said, he also could get the best out of you as a fucking cruiserweight. And that's another thing too that stuck out about Sean Waltman, right? And you know, his martial arts basically, you know, put him out, you know, as a separate entity against everybody who he wrestled in. Now, I mean, like, you know, while you had people who was you had a submission specialist, you had a luchador. Now, I mean, like, you got fucking, you know, you got smaller guys. He stuck out in the cruiserweight division. He did. You know what I mean? He did. And again, this is what made him fucking great. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the other thing about Sean Waltman too is this, right? He did not deserve, this is just me, he don't deserve the shit that he had gotten. You know what I mean? With you know, the X-Pac heat, like, oh, we're going to see. There's nothing wrong with his work. I saw nothing wrong. You know what I mean? So I don't know about the X-Pac heat. Like, listen, there's a lot more wrestlers who's worse than X-Pac, who deserves the, you know, the go away heat. You know what I mean? Hulk Hogan is definitely one of them. Now, I mean, Hulk Hogan is clearly one of them. You know? And it's just, it's sad. You know what I'm saying? And listen, they tried, you know, remember X Factor? Remember X Factor with him, Justin Credible, and Matt Bloom, who was, you know, Prince Albert at the time. You know, who you know, they try to give Sean Waltman a stable. You know what I mean? It just didn't work. You know, not for the WWF or WWE. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, he also wrestled in TNA too, where he was Syxx. You know, I see people like Speedball Mike Bailey and such. That's basically what comes to mind when I think of X-Pac. You know, but to me, X-Pac was more versed, in my personal opinion. You know what I mean? He was more versed because unlike Speedball Mike Bailey, X-Pac he actually has charisma. He actually shows charisma and everything else. You know what I mean? And mind you, he was into hip hop and everything too. And that's another thing about X-Pac as well. You know what I'm saying? Like he mixed, you know, the Wolfpack all mixed hip hop into their characteristics. And that was the beautiful thing about him. You know what I mean? The other thing too about X-Pac is when, you know, Sean Waltman, was when the NWO came back in the WWF in 2002, you know, I was glad that he fit into the group because, of course, it made sense to put him in there. Why the fuck wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Just like Paul White. Paul White fit in the NWO, you know, at the time. But again, you know, Sean Waltman, you can take him from the 90s and put him into this day and age, and, you know, he could still fit. Because his style is perfect. You know, his style is perfect for any era. Imagine him and AJ Styles going at it, right? I mean, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you know, imagine him and Cody Rhodes going at it. You know, X-Pac in his prime against Cody Rhodes. Imagine X-Pac versus fucking Adam Cole. You know what I'm saying? In his prime. You know what I'm saying? Imagine him and Bryan Danielson in his prime. Imagine him and Roman Reigns in his prime. Imagine him and fucking Jon Moxley. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a foregone conclusion that, you know, X-Pac can work. Yeah, I mean, he can clearly fucking work. He can work with he can work with the best of them. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, to me, he's ahead of his time. You know, but I'm about to be out, guys. You know what I'm saying? Because I got work in the morning. So I'm gonna definitely catch y'all mañana. I hope there's some news. You know what I mean? So I hope y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to y'all. Peace.